There was a big win and a big loss on Sunday, Dash. Which one is going to impact the Steelers more?
The win.
Welcome to the Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to our Steelers recap. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with Jay Dash. We're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers game against the Oakland Raiders from Week 9. Crazy game. The Steelers ended up winning 38-35. Big victory for Pittsburgh. Big step forward in the playoff chase for the wild card. But it could be a step back because Big Ben injures his foot. He's definitely out against Cleveland. Possibly out after the bye week. Nobody really knows as of right now.
Yeah, it's a good thing they do have the bye, though, and they have Cleveland at home. So there's still a possibility you can go out there and win with Landry Jones. And then you got the bye for Ben the Hill, and it's possible he can come back for that Seattle game.
I hope so. Not that Seattle is the team it was in years past, but it's still going to be a tough game traveling all the way across the country, playing in that stadium. They get pretty loud.
And we said they had to get the passing going in this game, and they had it going. I mean, Ben wasn't perfect in this game. He didn't look like his normal self, but he looked a lot better than he did in his first game back. But look, he was only 24 for 44. He did have 334 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. He was just off a little bit. I mean, the pick, obviously, he was off. But there was a couple overthrows he had. And on that deep ball, that 59-yard catch at the end of the first quarter by Antonio Brown, if it had just led him a little more, that was an easy touchdown. But they did end up scoring on that drive anyways.
Big Ben passed Johnny Unitas and Joe Montana. Unitas had 40,239 yards passing. Montana, 40,551. Big Ben now has 40,565 career passing yardage. Next on the list, can you guess? He played for the Carolina Panthers.
Played for the Carolina Panthers?
And the New York Giants.
Kerry Collins.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy that Collins had more yards than Montana? Well, I mean, I know it's a totally different era, but Collins was garbage for most of his career.
You really can't compare the two, though. But yeah, now that Ben's down, it's Landry Jones. And I mean, he didn't look too terrible in his game, but it sort of reminded me of the game that Vic went down and he came in. He looked great in the second half there versus Arizona. And then you seen him come out and start the next week, and he looked like garbage. So he comes in this game, and he doesn't look too bad. I tell you what, though, he does get help from his receivers when he comes in, because the game he came in against Arizona, you remember Martavis Bryant took a 10-yard pass straight to the zone. And then in this game, Antonio Brown took a short pass for, 50-some yards or something.
Nice design play. I watched it. ESPN broke it down a couple times. The route Brown ran, it wasn't a pick route because they didn't have, run too close and make the defenders run into each other. But Brown came back and went out and around, or behind Bryant, actually, as Bryant came out. So it forced the defender to have a bad angle to tackle Brown, and then he made a play. And that really is pretty much what sealed the deal for Pittsburgh's victory, because that put him in position for that field goal.
That was the final game-winning drive, obviously. 57-yard catch is what it was.
Can I say this? I think Landry Jones is making a case to be a backup quarterback somewhere. It seems like he can come in a game and win, and then maybe not completely blow it, although in the game he started against Kansas City, it was pretty bad. But he's not looking like a starter, but he's looking like he could make a case to be a career backup. That's a pretty good living.
Yeah, like we said, he was still getting the ball to Antonio Brown, too, so let's hope he can do that moving forward.
Please tell me you're not one of the people that think Landry should take over for Ben already. I'm reading on social media, on the internet, that all these people are saying Ben's injury prone again, get rid of him, time for Landry to step up. That's just ridiculous. Come on,
No, I think it's time for the Steelers to invest a draft pick in a quarterback, though. If they think their quarterback's out there, if they go into this next draft and don't like the guy that they can get in the second or third round, then don't take him and wait till the next year. But if it's your guy, go ahead and take him. But talking about Antonio Brown, huge game, and you called it, too.
My key to victory.
Yes.
I've been right on 2 things this year. That's like a freaking miracle.
But yeah, 17 catches, 284 yards. Not to mention he had 22 yards rushing on 2 carries. He actually ended up with 306 offensive yards, while D'Angelo Williams had 225. Between the two, 531 yards of offense.
Brown accounted for 61% of all passing yards, receiving yards, whatever you want to call it. His 17 catches was the 5th most in an NFL game. And Antonio Brown and Terrell Owens are the only 2 players in NFL history with 17 catches for 280 plus yards in a game. Owens had 20 for 283 in a game. Although AB's came without a touchdown, he has the most receiving yards in a game now without a touchdown in NFL history. So a couple records set on Sunday.
You could say he doesn't have a touchdown, but because of him, they scored some of these touchdowns. Look, the Williams 3-yard touchdown he had, Brown actually had 81 yards receiving on that drive. That was the first touchdown drive the Steelers had. On Williams' next touchdown, the 4th and short where he scored, Brown actually had 41 yards receiving and 16 yards rushing on that drive. And then obviously the 57-yard reception on the game-winning drive. So, although he didn't score, huge reason why they got into the end zone here. But look, he could have had an even bigger game. Don't forget, he was overthrown a couple times on a deep ball by Ben.
He had, I think, 27 targets or 24 targets or somewhere around there.
Yeah, something ridiculous. And then, like I said, Ben didn't hit him in stride on that 59-yard reception at the end of the first quarter. If it had hit him in stride, there's a touchdown there. And he had that big first down called back on that pick play, you remember.
Yeah. I did read somewhere, it wasn't like an official or anything, it was just something I read that Ben didn't have enough room to step up on that throw where he kind of underthrew Brown, so he wasn't able to step into the throw and he armed it all, and that's why it come up short. But you're right, if he hits Brown in stride even a yard or two further, that's a sure touchdown.
Martavis Bryant, he had, I don't know, an okay game, I guess you want to say.
The touchdown's masking his bad game, I think.
Yeah, look, he had a drop on the very first play of the game. It was a curl. Ben hit him right in his stomach, and he dropped the ball. And then he dropped that deep ball, obviously, that made him look like Limas Swede pretty much. And that was after Oakland tied it up at 21. And then Ben got picked off on the very next play at their own 33-yard line. So if Martavis could have come up with that catch, this game could have been a lot easier on Pittsburgh. But in the second half, he did have that first down catch where he fought for yardage to get the first down. And then he had the big TD reception where he eluded 3-4 tackles, something like that.
Yeah,
it was beast mode. And actually Jesse James had a nice block on that play as well, and that made it 28-21. So Bryant, I don't know, I really thought this guy was taking it to the next level. He's had some trouble the past couple weeks.
Martavis Bryant, it's weird. Last year he looked like he was completely unstoppable. This year in the preseason he looks completely unstoppable. His first game back, he looks completely unstoppable. Now in the last 2 games, the dude couldn't catch a cold if you freaking shot it down his throat with the freaking, what did they call it on Always Sunny? The shotgun blaster that shot shots down your throat. He couldn't even do that. This dude, he's been hitting the face with a ball. He's been hitting the chest with a ball. He bobbles it around like he's playing with somebody's balls. I don't know what's up with him.
Well, he dropped a potential touchdown 2 weeks in a row now. I will say that, but I still believe this guy's going to be one of the best receivers in the game if he can get his head on straight.
That's it. He needs to get his head locked on because we don't have a lot behind him. Jacoby Jones, absolute garbage. Marcus Wheaton, I was excited about him coming into the slot this year and hoping that he would play at least better than he has. He looks like garbage. Yeah, complete garbage.
-2 yards.
Hayward Bay had a drop, although he has looked surprisingly good this year.
Drop pass, that was on the first drive, and he didn't have a catch in the game.
Right. So, I mean, our receiving core that looked so deep at the beginning of the season is starting to look a little lackluster behind Antonio Brown.
I mean, Heath Miller came up with a couple decent catches to help him out, but Jesse James came up with a couple nice catches too.
Road dog.
He had a 9-yard reception there early in the game, and then the big touchdown that came right after the forced fumble on the kick return.
Gotta love how everybody chanted Heath whenever he caught the ball in the middle of the field that first time because it was a white dude within the 80s number, so all the fans in the stadium thought it was Heath Miller.
So what do you think about Jacoby Jones as our kick returner and punt returner? That is why they got rid of Dree Archer. They obviously did not trust him as a punt returner at all.
Yeah, they must not have liked him in the punt return game. They're afraid to lose Brown now that they've lost Le'Veon Bell. If you lose Antonio Brown, your offense is screwed. Although you lost Big Ben, too.
Yeah, if you lose Ben.
But Ben doesn't return punts, so we didn't have to sign a backup quarterback to return punts. But Jacoby Jones, what did he have returning punts? -, yards? Did he even have a positive punt return? I know on kickoffs he wasn't great. He wasn't good. He wasn't great. He wasn't complete garbage. He was somewhere in between complete garbage and regular garbage, I think. I think he's just like my regular Wednesday trash, not my Sunday after the game and everybody's puking in the garbage can trash.
Well, he had I think, one return to the 16-yard line on a
Beast.
kickoff, one return to the 12-yard line
Woo.
on a kickoff. So if you think Dree Archer's garbage, those fans that were saying Dree Archer, thank the Lord he's gone. Well, Jacoby Jones is even worse, and you have to say this game was garbage out of him. He had 4 returns for 83 yards, a 20.8-yard return average. Now, on the play, he did take it to the 12-yard line. He was 9 yards deep, so it was a 21-yard return. But if Dree Archer makes horrible decisions, that had to be a horrible decision. But on punt returns, he had the -3-yard return on his first punt return, but he did have a 5-yard punt return, so he got positive yardage there. 2 returns for 2 yards.
If I'm a kick returner, I mean, on a team like ours, the Steelers just aren't good at it this year. Why aren't we just downing it every time it's kicked into the end zone unless we're trying to run some clock? You know, you take it out to run a few seconds. Just freaking down it. We're garbage. We can't block anybody on a kickoff.
I thought it was hilarious.
We
He
can't
almost
return
fumbled the opening kickoff.
He did. He dropped it. He just straight caught it and dropped it like a freaking moron. So, I mean, I don't get it. All these Tomlin fans, I like Tomlin, so I'm not hating on him completely, but this move was stupid. You mean to tell me Dree Archer can't catch a punt or call for a fair catch or just get the hell out of the way?
And then finally, they put Antonio Brown in the punt return.
And
We're
he
all
fumbles.
happy. And he fumbles.
And I hated Dree Archer, so for me to hate this move, you got to understand how bad of a move this really is, because I was one of the ones who thought Archer was garbage, but they didn't replace him with anything better, so it was a terrible move. Jacoby Jones, you.
They didn't make too many mistakes in this game, though. I mean, there was a couple things. They went forward on 4th and 4 on the very first drive of the game.
I didn't like it.
Horrible coaching decision. They were in deep field goal range. It would have been a 52-yard field goal.
Yeah, they were on Oakland's 34.
Yeah, so it would have been a deep field goal, but, I mean, why not try it? Boswell hadn't missed a field goal to that point, although he did end up missing a field goal in the second half, so there's another missed opportunity. In that Brown fumble on the punt return, obviously a missed opportunity. And let's not forget the blown coverage on Cooper in this game.
I actually just watched a replay of that before we started recording. We were in cover 2. Both our safeties dropped to their side of the field. Both of them shied a little bit too far away from the middle. And Cooper just got up the seam on, I think it was Willie Gay, maybe? I can't remember the defender who was covering him.
I think the closest person to him was Ryan Shazier, but he was like 20 yards away.
Trailing behind, yeah. I mean, he got up the seam, and that was perfect play by Oakland, a perfect throw by Carr. I got to give it to Derek Carr. We've been talking in this segment for a few minutes now. We haven't even mentioned this kid's name. I was hard on him from last year. He was not on my list of up-and-coming quarterbacks coming into the season. This kid seems legit. He tore the Steelers' defense up.
He wasn't perfect either, though. 24 for 44, just like Ben. So he was a little inconsistent, but he did have over 300 yards.
He made plays.
And he had, 4 touchdown passes. They were breaking off big chunks of yardage in this game, obviously. But the one pick was a huge interception at that point by Cockrell.
Was that in the end zone?
Yeah. It was a bad pass, too. We didn't know who it was to. There was 2 receivers over there, and he pretty much threw it between the both of them.
He got good protection, Carr, so I don't know what caused him to be a little more inconsistent completion-wise in this game. I don't know if the Steelers' defensive backs are that good. I just think he might have had a little bit of a down game, although he still played well enough for his team to win.
There was the Steelers' defense. I don't know what to think of them in this game. They didn't play great. They
sacks.
also didn't play terrible either, man. I mean, Will Allen was all over the field hitting people. Mike Mitchell was still all over the field hitting people. Ryan Shazier was all over the field. Lawrence Timmons was hitting people. I mean, they were out there making some plays.
4 forced fumbles for this defense.
Well, 2 of those were actually special teams. 2 were on the defense. Right. But in the interception, obviously. But you look at this. Look at what the Raiders did. On the first drive of the game, it was only 3 plays. There was a 44-yard run by Murray, a 22-yard touchdown catch by Crabtree to make it 7-0. That was after nothing on the first play. So it was like 2 quick plays, touchdown. But then they forced 3 punts in a row, and then the Cooper blown coverage. That was really the first blown coverage they had since Gronkowski in the first game of the season. Will Allen actually forced a fumble earlier on that drive that went out of bounds, so they missed a chance there as well. But even before that, they were put in a bad situation too, because Jordan Berry had that 36-yard punt to their own 40-yard line. So it was a short distance to go for Oakland there as well. So in the first half, they only let up 14 points, But the 2 drives that they let up points, I mean, they really looked terrible at that point.
They forced 4 3-and-outs on the Raiders. One of them was ruined by Brown's fumble on the punt. But that's against a pretty damn good Raiders offense. I mean, they put up 35 points. The Steelers have holding teams to under 20. What's the most anybody scored other than the Patriots? 25, something like that. I mean, we haven't had another 30-point game other than New England.
No, 28 was New England.
Right, but
that was the first of the season.
Yeah, so this defense, they're giving up mad passing yards. Don't get us wrong. We're not sitting here saying they're the steel curtain defense of the 70s or even of the late 90s and early 2000s, whatever you want to call it. But they are not giving up points. They were 5th or 4th or something in the league going into this game in points against. So Oakland did work. I mean, their offense came out and put up points, but that Steelers defense played fast, they played physical, and they were opportunistic, and they took advantage of the mistakes when Oakland made them. And that's how you beat an offense as good as Oakland's. When they make a mistake, you have to make them pay for it. And that's what happened in this game. Oakland shot themselves in the foot a little bit, and then Pittsburgh rose to the occasion. This offense was crazy good. 81 total plays for the Steelers to the Raiders 69.
I mean that's a lot of offensive plays.
This was a fun game to watch.
Look, yeah, that's what I was saying. Look, Oakland had 14 offensive drives in this game. So while the Steelers let up 35 points, they did force 7 punts and they did force 2 turnovers. But like I was saying, there was a lot of big plays. Like I mentioned in the first half there, those big plays. In the second half, it was the same way. Murray had a big run, 2 big catches by Seth Roberts to set up another score. Wally had that big touchdown run after another Seth Roberts 19-yard reception. And then the final drive of the game for them, Crabtree came up with a 38-yard touchdown catch. So it was all just big chunks of yardage. So there was times where the Steelers defense looked terrible, but on the other drives, they looked great. So I don't know what to think. I think they just got get a little bit more consistent moving forward, but they also played one of the better offenses they've seen this year.
Mad big plays. Steelers had 3 plays of 50-plus yards on their own. This game, as an average fan or somebody who maybe didn't necessarily care about the outcome of the game, because for us it was freaking emotional swings back and forth. What a great football game to watch.
Latavius Murray almost had 100 yards rushing. He came up with 96, but he did have that 44-yard run on the first drive of the game, like I said. So after that, it was 16 carries for just 52 yards. So they sort of shut him down after that, and not to mention he fumbled twice as well. But we were talking about Carr having the big game before, and really in the preview segment, we were talking about what they put around them this season in Michael Crabtree and Amari Cooper. And really, those two had probably the best game out of a combo against the Steelers this season. 14 catches, 196 yards, and 3 touchdowns between them.
I'll tell you, Cooper looks special. I heard Tomlin say he was special before the game. This kid really does look good. He has more than the next, I think, 5 rookie wide receivers. He has more yards than those guys combined. That's how good of a season this guy's having.
Yeah, I tell you what, I bet you Oakland Raiders fans are thinking this isn't one of his better games either, because he had a drop on a 3rd and 5 in the second quarter to end the drive, and he got injured in this game. Mike Mitchell hit him, and he was injured a little bit, and he just didn't look like himself. There was times where him and Carr weren't on the same page. You can still see they're young, and they got some growing to do, but let's not forget, too, this is a tough matchup for Oakland coming into Pittsburgh, so that could have had something to do with it, too. But like you were saying, Oakland had their missed chances as well, made a couple mistakes. Crabtree nearly came up with a couple catches where he stepped out of bounds just barely. Like I said, Cooper had a drop on a 3rd and 5, and he was injured, so he wasn't completely on top of his game. He had better games. And all those turnovers they had, especially the fumbles. Would they have 5 fumbles or something like that?
5 total fumbles, yeah.
Ridiculous. And the biggest one was really on the kick return, and that set the Steelers up at the 6-yard line. And that followed with a Jesse James touchdown to make it 35-21. That one really hurt them, but they were able to bounce back after that. But again, David Carr throwing an interception in the end zone, another missed opportunity there. And let's not forget, Amari Cooper had a potential touchdown catch right before that where he just stepped out of bounds. Yeah. So there's a lot of missed opportunities here for Oakland, and I'm sure they're loving how their offense looks right now, just if they can correct a couple things.
On the preview show, I said that the Steelers would be up, 2 or 3 scores, and the Raiders would get some yards and some points and some garbage points. Ted Cook commented on the segment saying that by saying garbage points, you're inferring that the Raiders are garbage like last year, and their offense would struggle. And he was right, because they had some missed opportunities, like you said, but I wouldn't call it a struggling game for them at all. They proved me wrong. They came across the country against a decent defense, at least as far as points goes, and they put up big points, big yards. Carr to Cooper, this is going to be a big tandem for years to come, as long as these guys both stay healthy.
Crabtree's looking a lot better than he did in San Francisco as well.
I like him as a complimentary guy. Maybe he was just never that number one guy that they thought he could be, and he's a really, really good number two. Be nice to have him as our number three.
And let's not forget how many injuries the Oakland Raiders took in this game.
Believe it.
Offensively and defensively. It seemed like every 30 seconds there was an Oakland Raider going down. In fact, we got a comment before the game by a user named James Clary that said, for this point in the season, the Raiders are incredibly healthy.
You jinxed them, buddy.
Yeah, your team. Then he says, your team, on the other hand, is incredibly banged up.
Believe it.
If Ben is forced out of the pocket, which I think he will be, that knee is going to be a real problem. I'm afraid he may re-injure it tomorrow. So he was close. Ben did get knocked out of the game, and it looks like he's going to be out for a little while. But it looks like you did jinx your team a little bit, because they don't look healthy right now. And I'll tell you what, you got to give some credit to Charles Woodson. He got injured on the second play in this game. He has something wrong with his right shoulder, and he was in and out of the game because he kept hurting it. But this guy plays hard, and he is one of the best D-backs in NFL history.
He's leading the NFL in interceptions right now, unless somebody passed him this week, because I know he was leading it coming into this game. He is an old, proven veteran. I have so much respect for Woodson. One of the best defensive players of our lifetime. Not even just the last 10 years, just of our freaking lifetime. In my 30 years watching football, he goes out, he has heart, he plays hard, he plays hurt. He does not want to miss time. And you know that shoulder hurts. But if this really is his last year, what does it matter? Have surgery and then you're fine. It's going to be fine in regular life.
I was listening to an interview of him, and they asked him who would he rather have, Charles Woodson or Rod Woodson. And, of course, that puts him in a tough situation, but he chose himself, and you always want to choose yourself. But who would you choose?
Charles or Rod?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. I'm a Steeler fan, so I got to go Rod.
I hear you. I think even if I wasn't a Steeler fan, I'd go Rod, because Rod Woodson played for the Raiders, too.
Believe it.
So there you go.
Didn't Woodson play for the Packers for a while, too?
Charles Woodson, yeah.
Nice. Dude's beast.
Rod Woodson. He played for Baltimore, didn't he?
Yeah, Baltimore, Oakland. He won his Super Bowl with Baltimore.
Garbage.
Believe it. But what an exciting game. What an exciting segment. We're just rambling on now. Anything else? Any other comments from anybody? Eddie B, you're blowing us up. We can't even read all your comments.
I feel like we missed something, man.
What do we miss?
Who's your player of the game?
Boswell looked all right. Oh, you know what I was going to say earlier? Barry, our punter. What's up with this dude? Why does he kick it 80 yards one time and 8 yards the next time? Can we get a guy who can at least just consistently kick it 40 or 50? I'd be happy with that. Because this punting game is going to come back to bite us in the ass. And it might be this week against Cleveland. If he shanks a punt out of our end zone and sets them up at the freaking 40-yard line or the 50-yard line to start a drive, that could really hurt us. We're living on the edge this year sometimes.
Our return game sucks, too.
To some of these games. Oh, in punt return and kick return, it's garbage. The coverage just isn't there. It's garbage.
Yeah, definitely.
It doesn't matter who we put back there.
And listen, that's why I'd rather have Dree Archer, because Jacoby Jones is a 6'4", slow 31-year-old now.
Eddie
6'4",
B says he looks fat. He must have been packing all the pounds out there in San Diego. What do we got? Landry Jones, a quarterback, coming into Cleveland. Any faith in the guy?
Not really, man.
No. What do you think, D'Angelo? 27 carries in this game. Can he do that again?
What I would do is if Mike Vick is healthy, I would start him, let him play the first half, and then no matter what happens, bring Landry Jones in to dominate.
I would never let Vick touch the football again as a Steeler. And I'm not saying Landry did a lot better. God, please, let's just move on from Vick. I'm done. I'm done with this dude.
Who's your player of the game?
Antonio Brown, man. It's got to be Brown. This guy set freaking Steeler records, almost set NFL records, did set an NFL record. All those weeks where he wasn't getting his 5 for 50, I know you're not going to be able to go back and get those, but he just made up for a lot of those yards. I forgot to say this earlier. Him and Julio Jones are both over 1,000 yards already for the season. Brown has 1,002 yards. I forget what Julio has. It's the first time receivers have been over 1,000 yards this early in the season since Megatron's season, where he went for like 1,956 yards or something like that.
Just
a shade
think
under
if
2,000.
Ben was healthy all season.
Yeah, it would have been ridiculous. AB, I ragged on you in the preview show, man. I called you a crybaby and said you needed to step up, and you did it. Kudos to you, man, because you carried this freaking team. You and D'Angelo Williams.
I'm going to go a different way with it just because we said my key to victory was that they had to go out and show a better passing game than they did the previous week. You said Brown had to go out and show somewhat of a historic day, and that's exactly what he did. What we also said is the Oakland Raiders are able to stop the run, and they did not do that in this game. D'Angelo Williams had 170 yards on 27 carries, 2 touchdowns. He also added 55 yards receiving. He had a 33-yard catch on the first drive. He had a 53-yard run on the drive that ended with the Martavis Bryant touchdown. He had a 3-yard touchdown run. He added the 2-point conversion on that to make it 11-7 at that point. And he had another TD on a 4th and short to make it 18-14. So he gave him the lead twice on his touchdowns. I really thought D'Angelo was going to have a little bit more trouble in this game by the way the Oakland Raiders defense has been playing this season. They get beat by the pass, so it wasn't really too surprising to see that happen. They stopped the run, and D'Angelo Williams went out there and just dominated all game long. So I'm going to go D'Angelo Williams. How about defensively? There's a lot of guys here that you can choose from because no one really had the huge game, but there was a lot of people flying around and hitting hard.
It's a tough one for me. I'm going to go Will Allen, though. I was not that I was low on him because I thought he's a good player. He could come in and give the Steelers good plays. But I didn't think he'd be able to be the type of starter that he's been for the season. He's really come in and given them high-quality safety play at a position where we don't really have a lot of depth. I know Golden has stepped in while Allen was hurt and played well, but Will Allen, he's flying around. Did he have a forced fumble? We don't really know. They gave it to Antoine Blake, but you said when you were writing it down, you might have given it to Will Allen on the play. I don't exactly remember it.
Yeah, maybe I was wrong. I don't know. Who knows?
Either way, this dude flies around. He makes big plays. He's a breath of fresh air, I guess I want to say, at the safety position.
Yeah, 3 passes defended, too.
Believe it.
I guess I'm just going to go with Cockrell because really I didn't expect...
You like saying his name?
No. Really, I didn't expect anything out of him this season when they said they were throwing him in the lineup. And he's came up and made big plays this season, especially in this game on a drive where Oakland really could have took control of that game. He came up with a big pick. He didn't know if he wanted to take it out of the end zone or not, though.
I think Brandon Boykin might have got a play on defense. Should we give him player of the game?
I think it was probably a kickoff, man.
Oh, Jesus.
What
are you going to do with that, dude?
I can't believe they
Traded
haven't
for
gave
him
that
and
guy a
benched him.
shot yet.
Yeah, it's stupid.
But
Cockrell's
really,
playing good,
Willie
though,
Gay, that guy never misses a game. Did you
Nope.
see during the game they said something? He has over 100 and some games
Yeah,
played
we've
in a row now?
mentioned that a couple times on the show.
So he's a beast, and then Cockrell's playing well. Antoine Blake comes up with plays here and there. I mean, I guess there's just not enough room for Boykin. I don't know, man.
Who knows? Mike Mitchell started playing well, so anything would shocking me right now. I didn't think that dude would ever do anything good.
So is Oakland going to make the playoffs? They're 4-4 sitting in second place. Denver just lost this week to move to 7-1. So they're only 3 games out of the division lead still. Kansas City, only a game behind them at 3-5. There's the Jets, there's Pittsburgh.
They're not going to
Kansas
catch
City.
Denver for the division.
I wouldn't think so.
Mathematically, you just don't think Denver's going to lose that many games. But I hesitate when I want to say, yes, they will make the wild card, because that probably means Pittsburgh don't make it. If Oakland makes it, I don't think the Steelers will.
So who's the other team? Jets?
Probably the Jets. You might see the Dolphins sneak up in there. I don't really know, but I doubt it after they got thumped by Buffalo.
Could be Buffalo.
Buffalo could sneak up there. I mean, Tyrod Taylor played
Could
a
be
little
Houston?
bit better. No, I don't think it's going to be Houston.
I thought we just did a segment where you said they were going to go to the playoffs.
Well, I mean, they could win their division, but I don't think they're going to be the wild card.
Well, you said Indy will win that division in the following segment.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean Houston doesn't have a chance. It just means I think Indy's going to win it. They could still have a chance.
Okay. Well, all I was saying is you said Indy would win a division and Houston would make the playoffs at one point.
I said Houston would make the playoffs before I decided Indy was going to win
right.
the division.
All right, wrap it up.
Fans, if you want to argue with us about Houston and Indy winning the division and going to the wild card, hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube and clicking subscribe. Go Steelers. Big ups to Raiders fans, and Derek Carr, because I hated on you hard and you stepped up.
Raiders fans are loving it right now.
Believe it. Subscribe to the spread, Raiders fans.